Fresh from the showcase here at SwissWatchExpo, we are talking about chronographs, rattrapantes, flybacks on this Friday the 13th. We're going to go backwards a little bit and forwards a little bit. And I suppose on Friday the 13th we have a little bit of bad luck where you sometimes have to restart, right?
Okay. I've heard it's good luck on Friday the 13th. This is the day you should embark on new adventures. So
well, we're close to St. Patrick's Day, so yeah, of course it's good luck, right?
Right.
We won't be afraid of Friday the 13th, and we're not going to be afraid of chronographs and rattrapantes and flybacks either. We have a whole line of watches here at SwissWatchExpo that span the gamut. We can go from the most simplistic chronograph to the most complicated chronograph. And throughout the watchmaking world, chronographs are known, even with the tourbillon, as being the most complicated watch movement out there and the hardest to work on. Rattrapante is one of the other watches that we have to really delve down into because it means to catch up in French. Rattrapante means to catch up. Why? Because when you start a chronograph, the chronograph has 1 seconds hand that most people are familiar with. You press the top button, Breitling being the inventor of the chronograph, the one that really started it. Of course, they worked with Tag Heuer on this as well, on the movement. Originally, all chronographs had a center push button in the crown. Breitling moved the center pusher from the center of the crown up to the top. So there was the crown and then the single pusher. And then subsequently in 1934, they introduced the second pusher, which you see on the bottom. So when you see a chronograph, it's always all about Breitling. They're the ones that patented and are the reason that you have two pushers on your watch now. So start, stop at the top, and then reset at the bottom. Now that's a simple chronograph.
So
right?
A regular chronograph, you start, you're timing one thing. Let's say your car passes the start line where you want to time it, and you stop it.
Right.
The problem is you're recording that time, you're looking at your little notepad, and meanwhile your watch has stopped. It has quit timing the race, and the car has kept going.
Right. So then comes in the rattrapante. So actually we should be talking about horse races because this is actually where the chronograph timing started, believe it or not.
Yeah, but I like car racing.
I do too. It quickly jumped to wheels from legs, okay? So we needed a chronograph in a stopwatch form. Now that came in a pocket watch. That was the traditional round that I think if you watch any kind of old cartoons and stuff like that, you see them always doing that. It moved to the wristwatch, and Breitling was the reason that you could really have this small movement in this wristwatch. And so what happened, Patek Philippe also in 1929 introduced their Rattrapante movement to the world, and it was a big deal. They were the ones that decided that you needed to time two events because if you're going to wear your Patek Philippe to a really engaged event, you would need to be able to time two of your favorite horses, not just one.
Because you probably own at least two horses.
Right. So to catch up, what are we catching up? Well, the fun thing is when you have a watch like this IWC, you have two different seconds hand on the chronograph. One on this one is painted red, the other one is painted yellow. And the reason is because when you start the chronograph by pushing the top pusher, both seconds hands start moving at the same time, right?
Right.
So then you can stop that one and the other one continues to keep moving. Why? Because the theory is you have one horse that's getting ready to cross the finish line, and when it crosses the finish line, the other horse is doing what?
Still
catching up, right? Mm-hmm. So you want to be able to time that event, the split, and it's also called a split chronograph because clearly you've had split seconds between the first one and the second one. So Rattrapante and split second chronographs are the same thing if you hear them in that context. Now there's one other complication that we have to mention that Panerai here, I've chosen this specific one, and the reason is because it has that bright blue hand. Now, this is also called a yacht timer. Why? Because it's a flyback movement, meaning you can start the chronograph, the seconds hand will start moving. And as you get into a point where you need to reset that movement, because let's say you've passed a marker in the water for your yacht. Now, I'm not a yachtsman, so don't get too serious with me with that. I just know that there's a point in the water that you cross and you have to press the button. That's the extent of my knowledge. So when you do that, the second hand flies back to zero and starts again without having to stop it and then reset it again. It's taking a whole lot of time because
So you don't lose your total, because it would take some time
Right.
to stop and reset. You would lose a second or two in there.
and maybe more because if you're fumbling around and you're trying to get to your watch and you're kind of panicking.
And you're cranking the wheels.
You're trying to hoist your sail and knock off the plank or whatever else it is that they do. I'm not sure. So all of these watches have that complication set. So there's different things. Now there's Rattrapante split second and the Flyback. Now Rolex did something just a wee bit more complicated. Rolex took the Yachtmaster 2 and they made it a fly back and a fly forward. So you can use this bezel to set a time from 1 minute to 10 minutes. And so here's where I had to learn about yachting.
Okay.
So apparently there's a central timer that all the yachts have to follow. Now they all start moving and they start getting in line and they pass a certain point at a specific time. They have to be able to set their watch to the main clock. So within a 30-second period, you may want to fly back and start again, or if you've passed the 30-second period, you may need to fly forward to catch up.
Right.
Okay?
Okay.
So in some sense of the word, it is a rattrapante because you're catching up, but it's not a split-second timer. Is that confusing enough?
A little bit.
Yeah. Now, in addition to that, they've put in, and this is all mechanical. None of these are digital. So all these are gears and springs that are having to stay aligned just proper. When you start timing the event, it has a countdown timer, not a count up timer. So you combine a countdown timer with a fly forward and a fly back, and that's what makes the Yachtmaster 2 so sophisticated. Not only that, you set those minutes with your bezel up top, something that's never been done in any other watch before. And I believe that this watch was designed by a female, which makes it even more important in historical terms, because no other watch in this particular category has ever had that designation, that it was a female engineer who came up with this, which is really great, because you don't hear about females in the watch world very often. So I'm wearing the Daytona, which everybody understands is the quintessential race car timer chronograph. It's what Paul Newman wore. It's what everybody associates with chronographs. We've got IWC, we've got Flybacks, split timers, Rattrapantes. We've got the amazing Breitling that came in the original chronograph form. We've even got Blanc Palm. So we even have watches you can dive and get in the ocean with and do all kinds of things with and still time yourself. It is an amazing group of chronographs, and everybody says, well, what would you ever use these things for? Well, now you know. That's
Timing
what they're
your eggs.
Timing your eggs. I do, well, back before I worked here, I used to time my lunch. So I did use, also I used the bezel on the top too. So now
We also have, if you saw recently the movie Ford versus Ferrari, they featured a whole bunch of the old Hoyer chronographs from the 60s. And we actually have a few of those reproductions in stock as well.
Yeah, we do. And one other thing I think I should mention. We could go on about this for a long time, but let's not. I want to mention one other thing. There's a thing called a tachymeter around the outside bezel of every watch that you see made for automotive design, right? The Daytona being one of them. What that is when you start your chronograph, the seconds hand, you will pass a specific mark in time. So let's say a mile marker, for example. When you pass the first mile marker, you start the chronograph. When you pass the second mile marker, you stop the chronograph. Wherever that seconds hand lands on that tachymeter gives you a speed rating indication.
It's units per hour, so it could be kilometers, it could be miles, it could be widgets per hour coming off of your factory assembly line. It's just units. So the great thing is we don't have to convert it to metric and standard.
Right, it's already done for you right there on the bezel. So come see us, talk to us, call us at SwissWatchExpo.com, ask questions down below, we'll be happy to answer them. We want to engage with you, we want to talk to you about all the great things we have in chronograph form and why they're so interesting for you.